Hola, aloha, and welcome. This is the continuation of my 40-day journey here in Costa Rica, which I am now announcing has been amended. I am not going to only be water fasting for the next 40 days. I have instead decided to cleanse. As you can see here, I have this buffet of fruit. Yes, fruit in front of me. That is for this cleanse. I just went to the farmer's market earlier today and I got a bunch of stuff. The reason I've decided to amend this from a fast to a water and fruit cleanse is because yesterday I completed my first full day of water only fasting. I went from about 5:40 p.m. on the 11th through sometime in the morning of today. And yesterday I felt really bad, to be honest. I felt a little bit weak. I felt unmotivated. I am here in this beautiful jungle location in Costa Rica that has a waterfall and mountains, pretty much everything you need to really get in tune with nature, in a private space. For those of you who haven't heard yet, I'm writing a nutrition book, so a big portion of my motivation, my impetus for doing this is to complete this book while I am here. And yesterday I just didn't really feel like doing anything. I did get some content made, but I didn't really get any writing done. I did a little bit of exercising, some jump ropes by some staff, but I just realized that I wasn't going to be successful if I was water only cleansing alone in the jungle by myself. I'm just really not at that point right now. Yeshua is a big inspiration for me, and I understand now a little bit more of the true discipline and the willpower and the connection with God, with the divine it takes to really complete that type of fast. But right now, I'll just be honest in saying I am not at that point. So until I am at that point, this is what we're doing. So earlier today, I went to the farmer's market. They have here in this town I'm in, there's a really beautiful farmer's market, and got a bunch of fruits and stuff that I've never heard of, actually, like these tree tomatoes. I forget exactly what type of berry this is, but it resembles a blackberry. It might be a mora berry. Some juice, and some different stuff to really feel satiated while I'm down here and while I'm cleansing and writing and all of that good stuff. So I did have my first meal in a day and a half this morning, and it was really good. It really felt well. I felt better, so I ended up going to a health food store down the street afterwards and just sitting. They had a really nice lounge area, and I sat and did some writing, worked on some content, and it just felt really nice. I felt really satiated. I will be honest in saying that I probably did overcompensate a little bit. I had some dried fruit, which is not necessarily something I would recommend for any type of cleanse, but that's okay. If that's the one mistake that I made during this cleanse, I am fine with that. Another thing I realized is that as much fruit and nourishment as I consume, I often don't post too much about it. And I've had friends tell me, like, you should post more about health. You should post more about the fruit in Hawaii, what you're eating, how you stay healthy. You look great. People could benefit from this. And I realized that the reason I hadn't been doing that is because I was often ashamed about what I was eating. So I've been vegan for 10 and a half years, and I feel a lot better than I did before then. I have a lot more energy, and I noticed that I have a lot more energy than a lot of the people around me in my age group. I'm often able to play basketball with the high school team kids in Hawaii, and it feels really good to be able to run with them still. I'm 30. 30 isn't the oldest in the world, but still, there's some pretty decent ballers over in Hawaii, and it's nice to be able to hang with them. So saying that to say that I have a lot of energy and vitality, and people have asked me about it in certain ways, shapes, and forms. But I also, in that, eat a lot of things that, or past tense, let me not bring this into the present because this is not what we're doing now. But in the past, I've had a lot of things that maybe were vegan, but were not healthy. I've had a lot of chips, potato chips, like sugar was a really big thing for me, having like a vegan muffin or vegan banana bread or certain things that don't, provide much of a benefit or even have a lot of detriment to my health, but are still under the label and terminology of vegan. And when we do that, let me stop and say that vegan does not always mean healthy. There are a lot of different foods that are labeled as vegan and maybe even promoted as healthy that just are not. So it's really important to use that discernment. And one of the main ways that I do that is using the terminology food versus nourishment. Whereas food is something that we may eat for nourishment, but we can also eat for pleasure. Nourishment is things that we consume mainly to nourish our bodies. So I like to differentiate those two terms. So I'll say I was consuming vegan food that I was not super proud of and really wouldn't want to put on a camera to promote to other people. When I had a meal that was a really amazing friend of mine maybe cooked, or I'm at a potluck or something, I'd display that in the story or whatnot. But I often felt a lot of shame around my diet and not fully embodying the things that I know are best for me. It's like that dichotomy between when you know better, you do better. So like that in-between space of knowing but not quite fully being at the doing better yet. And this is a big part of what I'm doing here is I'm taking these bodies of knowledge because I've been very adamantly a student of health over these past 12, 13 years. Dr. Sadie, Yaki Awaken, Lauren Lockman are a few of my primary mentors, but I also watch some really amazing documentaries such as Cowspiracy, Forks Over Knives, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, Fed Up. There's been some really amazing ones over the years. And having all of these knowledge and seeing how people have been sick with cancer, with diabetes, with all of these diseases that are super preventable, and then on levels even less than that, like people who get sick relatively often, people who are more susceptible to, like, staph is a big thing in Hawaii. It's a pretty much a fungus or an infection that happens when you get open cuts and you go into the water. I didn't get my first staph infection for, I believe, about 5 years after moving here. And it's never gotten super bad. Like, there's people that, like some certain homeless guys have, staph all over their bodies. And it's just been increasingly difficult for me to watch the state of the country, the world, and the people around me, knowing all of this information. So I feel like at the same time I've been kind of digging myself out of this hole, because to be honest, to completely embody principles of proper nutrition, we need to have a totally different lifestyle in many cases, involving more natural living as far as our residence, more trees, less concrete, more natural work and professions, better exercise, cleaner air, water, and being able to swim is a huge part of it for me, and having an abundant access to fresh, healthy, nutritious from the tree produce. And a lot of environments, especially in major cities where the majority of certain populations live, don't offer that. So me being so blessed to live in one of these environments, which is Hawaii, and now traveling to Costa Rica, where these things are prevalent, I feel like at this point I can't just leave it be anymore. I have to speak out. I have to share this knowledge and this wisdom to potentially reach some people and make us healthier as a collective. Because at the end of the day, this is all about creating heaven earth. A lot of people use the term heaven on earth. I prefer heaven earth because it represents a merging of heaven and earth. Our purpose as human beings is to colonize Earth as a colony of heaven, which is a kingdom. So Earth is the land, the environment, and heaven is the kingdom, the governance structure, essentially the organizational system for our lives. And in heaven, there is no suffering. Cancer doesn't exist in heaven. Lupus, herpes, diabetes, any form of disease that we can contract does not exist in heaven. So in order for us to create heaven earth, we need to create heaven inside ourselves, and that begins with nutrition. So yeah, in a nutshell, I am not water fasting for the time being, which I still will do. I'm going to go to a center where I'm potentially with a group of people, but in a supervised setting, and I feel completely comfortable, or not even completely comfortable, because doing something new, especially like that, which a lot of people would consider extreme, you're not going to be comfortable going into it. I'm pretty sure that Yeshua may not have been all the way comfortable going into his 40-day fast, and he didn't eat or drink and was in the desert. So that's my plan for that. I'm not quite sure when it will happen, but when it does, I will definitely keep you guys posted. But for now, we are doing a cleanse. I am going to post more of what I'm actually consuming. And feel free to continue along this journey with me. I'm happy to have you guys. If you want to talk, if you want to tap in about this book, any of the knowledge or the wisdom that I'll be sharing in it, feel free to hit the link in my bio. There's one that says talk to me right up top. And I'm looking forward to continuing this journey, this amended journey from a total water fast to a 40-day fruit and water cleanse with you all. Thanks so much for tuning in. Peace for now. Pura vida. Aloha. Buenos noches.